Hey folks, Professor Finn here, and today we're going to be looking at Chapter 13 of Ralph Klicker's Funeral Service Psychology and Counseling. Let's get the presentation up and talk about characteristics of good counselors. Good counselors should display certain traits and ethical behaviors. The first is sincerity, having a real interest in the people and their problems. 2 is integrity, being of sound moral principles, upright and honest. Clients are more likely to confide in a counselor of obvious integrity. Empathy, the ability to perceive accurately the feelings of your clients. Respect, holding a person in high regard. Warmth, counselor's approachability and willingness to be open, considerate, and friendly with clients. Genuineness, ability to present oneself sincerely, a counselor's spontaneity, consistency, and authenticity. So what are the do's in a counseling relationship? Do have a desire to counsel. Do actively listen to the individual, and do listen with understanding. Do discern the true situation. Remember what I said, everyone lies. Everyone lies, so you have to get to the core of the reality. Do give the individual additional information when necessary. Do encourage the individual to solve the problem. Do help the individual develop a plan of action. And do follow up. This is as useful in what we do as licensed professionals as it is in our working commitments to each other. Develop a plan of action when someone needs it, and then do follow up to make sure that they are on task. Sometimes people come up with plans and then don't follow up to make sure that plan got activated and followed, and that creates situations. What are the don'ts in the counseling relationship? Don't tell the client what happened, let the client tell you. Your perception of an event may be different than their perception of the event. So today is September 11th, 2024, and yesterday evening there was a presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And I am sure that if I called my conservative friends, I would get one picture of what happened during that debate. And if I called my liberal friends, I would get a completely different picture of what happened during that debate. Either way, I am not going to tell either side what happened to that debate because I didn't watch it. I was doing something else at that time. So I'm going to let them tell me what happened. And then it's going to be up to me to get to the root or the truth of what's behind it. And since this is a presidential debate with what I view as career liars and politicians talking, well, good luck getting to the truth of the matter. Don't ask why or value judgment questions. Not there to judge them. You're just there to let them tell you what they perceive, and let's form a plan. Do not use should or ought. It's too late for that. And don't blame, criticize, or embarrass clients. You might say, oh, Professor Finn, no one does this. Yes, professionals do this. Believe it or not. Don't automatically compare the client's experience with your own. At this point, I've now lost both of my parents. I do not pretend to believe that I know what it is like to lose a parent from the perspective of somebody else. My relationship with my mom and dad were mine. I do not pretend to know what my sister felt like when losing my mom. I only know that she grieved our mother. That's that. Don't become overly analytical. Don't trivialize or invalidate the client's feelings or concerns. This is especially difficult if there is a communication gap between the generations, between you and a client, a Gen Xer working with a Zennial or something like that. Don't offer the client explanations for their thinking, feelings, or behavior. Let them do that for themselves. You can't give an explanation of what's happening in someone else's head. All you can do is help them explore why they did it and let them come to their own explanation. Don't reduce counseling to giving advice. You're not giving advice. You're there to facilitate that person working out their problem. Don't become impatient and or appear rushed. which in our profession can be pretty hard to do because so many things can happen at once. Don't become over-involved to the point you feel overwhelmed. And don't continue in a counseling relationship if you feel threatened by it or inappropriately attached to the client. One of the harms that we do is if we care and we connect with our clients, unfortunately, some clients think that that is exceptional and is directed only towards them. And I have had clients come to me and say, I feel a connection between us. And you have to confront that immediately. And you have to be very sensitive about that. And generally what I would say is, well, I'm very grateful that you feel that I bring worth to the experience you're having. But the truth is, this is the level of concern and care that I give to all of my clients. I'm here to support you during this process. I am here to facilitate this service. What I'm not saying is, yeah, you're reading this all wrong. I give the same level of care and concern to every one of my clients, and that is an absolutely true statement. I give the same level of concern to my direct cremations that I do to my $30,000 funerals. Every client is worth my time. Period. Don't breach the client's confidence. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If they give you sensitive information, protect it. Don't misrepresent your capabilities to the client, just like you should never misrepresent the condition of the human remains to the client. Don't judge and condemn others. I know that there are funeral directors and embalmers out there that really should have their licenses revoked. They're horrible people and they're incompetent, and the combination of those two things is very bad for our industry. I don't need to lower myself to that. Don't have to at all. If someone starts talking smack about a bad funeral director, I regret the fact that you had that horrible experience. If someone's talking smack about someone I know, love, and respect, I regret that you had that experience. It's the same phrase for both situations. I will not get into the mudslinging. I do regret that they had a negative experience. One may be a lot more justified by its perception than another, but nonetheless, I wasn't there. I'm not going to get involved, and there's nothing I can do to change that. What I have to do now is focus on the tasks at hand. And don't impose your solution because it's convenient for you, because of time limitations, disinterest, or anything else. They have to come up with their own solution, and you're there to help them do that. Don't treat problems alike. They're not. Don't treat people alike. Don't treat counseling sessions alike, and don't do too much talking. So what are some barriers to effective communication? The first is you ask too many questions. Client may feel the counselor is more interested in obtaining information than helping. You get better as you do it. Now, I have worked retail, I have worked food service, I have come from a blue-collar background. I will never please everyone 100% of the time. I don't even try to do that because that is an unrealistic expectation, and my personal opinion is you're a moron for trying to do that. But if you're getting most of the people all the time, you're probably doing a pretty good job. Just saying. What may be too many questions to one client might not be enough for another. Again, this is why you have to be engaged with the client, paying attention, reading their verbal and nonverbal cues, and modifying things as you go. Another barrier is dominating the interaction by displaying impatience, changing the subject, attempting to persuade or coerce, lecture, or preach. Also, inappropriate self-disclosure. You like to talk about themselves. I have sat in a room with someone making an arrangement as a observer, where the other individual didn't know I was a licensed professional, and all they did was talk about their own experience at a funeral that happened with their family, trying to show that they understand what the family is going through. Completely inappropriate self-disclosure, and it dominated the conversation. It really was a little ridiculous. But I'm not there to criticize. I'm just there to support my friend who was there making arrangements. I've also seen clergy in the room dominate the conversation and lecture their member about what they should be doing with money or what they should be doing with funerals. Again, not something good. I am all about gifting and tithing money to a house of worship that you participate in and you find value in. Absolutely. What I am not comfortable with is someone coming in there and telling them, you really don't need to have a funeral or any sort of thing whatsoever. Just get the cheapest cremation. You will have a nice little memorial, and all that money can be used in the building fund. That is not the way to approach this. I think that is a horrible pastoral bedside manner. Offering platitudes or false reassurances. Clients may feel you do not understand them. Everything's going to get better. Might never get better. That's what sucks about grief. It might literally never get better. But what's realistic? Things are hard right now. And over time, things should get better. And that's why we have our support system. I'm one of the people you can reach out to. We have all of these free things that you can reach out to. Do you see what I just did there? Not offering platitudes or false reassurances. I'm acknowledging that it's hard, and it's going to be hard, and you are going to have to probably drag yourself inch by inch. But that's why you have people supporting you, why we have these free resources, etc. Discouraging the expression of emotions. How many times have you seen that? It's often done because the helper is uncomfortable with the expressions. People need to express emotions. They should not be suppressed. The counselor may not actually discourage expression, but may avoid talking about painful subjects that may cause the expression of emotions. You don't feel like watching them break down and have a bad time, right? So you don't want to bring it up and talk about it. Sometimes we have to talk about sensitive topics at the arrangement table. Sometimes we have to. Emotional distancing. Clients may perceive the counselor to be aloof, making them feel isolated and uncomfortable. We can't do that. We have to be engaged with our clients. Again, you start learning where the lines are drawn the more you do this. And each client will be a little bit different than the next. We also have some unethical behaviors for counselors, a violation of confidentiality. There are some things that we mandatory have to report. Generally, this involves inappropriate conduct with minors, etc., etc., etc. Generally, we do not violate the confidentiality of our clients unless it is a requirement by law. Also, claiming expertise which one does not possess. I have done hundreds and hundreds of funerals. Absolutely. Am I an expert in Jewish funerals? Not even close. I would not pretend to be. Maybe back in the day I could probably give a couple lines of the Kaddish. I am not remotely close to having that level of experience. So if someone asked me a direct question, I absolutely do not have experience in doing that. Period. I don't. One of the things where people would say, we need a Catholic funeral director. Okay? Well, it just so happens I am Catholic. But I've had Catholic services in just about every Catholic church in my area, with few exceptions. One way you combat stuff like that is, we have a lot of funeral directors that are very familiar with the Catholic churches and their rituals and their requirements in our area. Which church is your family a parishioner of or you would want to use? And when they say, our dad was a parishioner at St. Justin Martyr. Oh, that's Father Mike O'Brien's church. I know Father Mike very well. I'm not claiming I have expertise being a Catholic or that I am a Catholic funeral director. What I am claiming is I've had a couple hundred funerals at St. Justin Martyr, and I know what Father Mike wants and what Father Mike doesn't want. And if you have no experience in the Catholic Church and you are not Catholic, don't just say, oh, yeah, I know all about Catholic funerals because I studied them in a book 20 years ago at mortuary school. Don't do that. Exceeding one's level of professional competence, that's especially true with embalmers. We tend to want to try to do it ourselves, and sometimes we have to dial a friend. We have to dial someone that has a bit more experience. But it's also true to say that you're not going to get the experience unless you are doing some of those things, which is why it's good to phone a friend and get some advice and then work on something yourself or work with them on something. Imposing one's values on a client, creating dependency in a client, and sexual activity with a client. Confidentiality is not only central to developing a trusting and productive relationship, but it's also an ethical and legal issue. There are times when information must be divulged. Clients pose a danger to themselves or others, and counselor believes that a client under the age of 16 years is a victim of incest, rape, or other abuse, or some other crime. When a court orders you to do something, you do what the judge said. If someone's got a problem with that, they can take it up with the judge. The client requested that their records be released to themselves or a third party. When they say, give it to someone in writing, you do it. It's that simple. And if you don't want to do that, what you can do is give them the copy of what they want, and they can give it to that person. Same difference. Okay, same difference. Technically not from a legal standpoint because you released the information to the party requesting and they provided to the third party you didn't want to, but for discussion purposes, it's the same difference. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this lecture, and we will see you next time.